you can only watch it for the first time once. It'll be interesting to see what we catch and what we don't.
Did you ever play the video game Mass Effect?
This is where Babylon 5 is becoming Babylon 5.
That was great. I love that.
100% completely accurate, definitive ranking of Babylon 5.
I love it so much.
We're officially into it, Jeff.
The year is 2025. The name of the podcast, Babylon 5, for the second time.
Welcome to Babylon 5 for the second time. My name is Brent Allen.
And I'm Jeff Akin. Brent and I, we used to be Star Trek podcasters, and then we watched Babylon 5 for the first time, and I got to tell you, everything changed. Now we're watching this series for the second time, catching all that stuff there was no possible way we could have caught the first time around.
That's right, but don't worry, folks. We are still searching for those sci-fi messages that we find in this series, those things that JMS was laying down that we're picking up. Things maybe we didn't catch the first time around, but we are looking for those. That being said, this is not our first time around. This is our second time around, which means by the nature of this show, everything is spoiler filled. Everything is on the table. This is your warning out there. If you have not seen this show, stop right now. Go back and catch us on our first watch when everything was super spoiler free. We had a great community of people around us, Jeff, keeping us spoiler free. There were people who were trying to give us spoilers, and we had folks like you out there who had swords who were like swatting that. I mean, you had lightsabers who you were just like you were catching it for us, which was awesome. You guys go check that out. And then when you do finish the series, come join us back here because Jeff and I could talk about anything from anywhere in the entire franchise, canon, not canon, extra source, whatever. It's all fair game for Jeff and I to talk about this go around.
It is. And this go around today, we're watching the episode Revelations, the second season or the second episode in season 2. We're going to be looking for all the stuff, right, that we missed and everything. Yes, sir.
Nia just said in our council chambers, hello to our council chambers who are joining us live for the recording. Nia's like, lightsabers? You could have said Minbari fighting pikes.
The Denbach.
Yes, I could have.
Huge miss. Huge miss.
Sorry. I know. I mean, I failed. I need to go back to the first watch.
Right? Exactly.
I'm going to relegate myself.
It's about time.
Sorry. I interrupted you.
Totally
For
fine.
the audio listeners, Brent threw his hands up in frustration and Jeff was like, what are you doing?
I was paying attention. But to your point, just to point out
Yes.
again, our council chambers subscribers to our Patreon, they get invited to join us for our recordings, and it's so cool having them here. They can correct us in real time on things like that and offer us a lot of stuff, which I'm hoping they do in this episode Revelations, because I remember from the first time viewing of this, I did not like this episode. I remember, so we got a lot of Sheridan stuff. We got Garibaldi back. We got unchrysaliced Delenn, and I think we got our first mention of Zahadum. We got some stuff, but I just remember being completely like underwhelmed and disappointed with almost everything that happened in this one. Do you remember what you thought of this one?
I was right there with you, brother. I was right there. My memory of this episode is I didn't like it. I remember we had just gotten our new captain, the one that we liked from the go. And the second episode out, he spends the whole damned episode pining for his lost wife. Now, I know that makes me sound like I'm a hard-hearted man, but this was too much even for, I am a big old softie. If there's any one of the two of us that's a hard-hearted person, it's you, Jeff.
It is 100% me.
I am the crier of the two of us. But it was just too much to me. It was too much too soon. But you know what I think it was? I've been thinking about this. With nearly everything else that JMS has done, he's been really subtle about it. He seeded it, and then he talked about it. Garibaldi's drinking, seeded it. You noticed the thing, and then he talks about it, right? Ivanova's earring, seeding those things. The whole thing with Ivanova and her dad, there was one little scene we got earlier, and then it finally paid off. Londo's appendages,
right?
It took a long time before we fully dived in and everything was just full frontal for us.
He seeded that and then they grew.
Exactly. But with this, nope. It was just one big boohoo fest. That's my memory. I really hope I'm wrong about this episode though.
I'm excited to listen. I already listened to this one. I listened to our last episode, Brent, and listening to our last episode makes me excited to watch this for the second time.
Really?
Because listening to us talk about it, I think this is going to be one of the episodes that really benefits from the second watch.
Okay.
But you did not like this one. In the second season, we started assigning Starfuries to things, and that was kind of how much we liked it, how Babylon 5 it was. And your quote, can we get negative Starfuries on this one? This was a slog of an episode to get through.
Right.
I thought this was an important episode for Sheridan, but it was super cliche. I liked that they were slow playing the shadows and the Delenn stuff, but my quote was, it was okay. We get new Nath in this episode and immediately hated her. Our conversation basically went, she sounds weak, she sounds pathetic, and has lost every bit of edge that she had last season.
Can I talk about that just for a second?
Yeah.
I'm gonna jump our thing here into the JMS Speaks. He talked about that in the Lurker's Guide.
Oh, really?
Specifically, yeah. And so you bring it up here. Now's a really good chance to do it. One, regarding the change in the actor for Nath, you have to remember that this was not our decision, but it was Caitlin. She was the actress that we loved from season 1. She wanted to go do other movies and stuff like that, and more power to her. But she wanted to pursue some other parts. They had made her an equal offer to the other cast, but she opted to pursue films. So they basically cast the next best actor that they could find to fill Nath's boots. They needed a character who was there with prior knowledge because she had to fill a role in the story, not just, be a new person. And Mary Kay, the new actress, this is JMS's quote, says, I think is trying to reinterpret the character. We're nudging her in the other direction. One way or the other, this will be made to work. Now, you and I know it won't. And they're going to cut her ass.
It was made to work. They got rid of her.
No, but here's what I love. They knew it wasn't working too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the actress was just being obstinate about it, apparently. And they're like, no, we really need you to. And she was trying to do this. And they're like, okay, fine. We're going to Keffer you. She got Keffered before Keffer got Keffered.
Right. Except she got Keffered to a prison.
Yeah.
And I loved the
they waited until we could get Caitlin back.
Exactly. We'll come around on this at some point.
Oh, Caitlin's available and wants to come do this? Great. Let's pull this back in now.
Let's do it. You, Brent, we get some Psy-Corps stuff in this one, and you were like, they are really building Psy-Corps to be this really big thing. And looks like Home Guard is going to be a really big thing in this too. So you got 50-50 on that one. We talked a lot about what the shadows are. What are they? You were curious if they were a religious sect or a metaphor or actually the collective of all the bad stuff, like the Psy-Corps and the Home Guard and the whatever, just kind of all the bad guy stuff there. There's some lines that you quoted, like Psy-Corps casts a shadow. Home Guard casts a shadow. They talk about the darkening that they bring, the darkness that those things bring. I thought that they were going to be a super race that lives on Zahadum and that they constructed Morden. He's not human, but some sort of a construct, like a Gola.
But you got super race living on Zahadum.
Brent, I'm going to spoiler this thing a little bit. I got some stuff in this one.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, you did.
We get a little more of a dive into Jaquan. We see some more religious Jakar in this one, and you talked a lot about kind of the parallelisms in stories and good storytelling, where I'm telling like Jakar's story, but to help tell that story, I'm going to go back and tell Jaquan's story as it's going. And you really wanted that dive into Jaquan.
I did. I really did. And we talked about that, I think, when we did our original 5-year arc episode. That there's the here's what happened, but here's what happened before, and we got to discover those side by side.
Yeah, which is really cool.
Yeah,
you had a great quote. You said, "Londo, when this is all said and done, Londo has to be one of the good guys."
Yes,
you hoped that Londo. You said, "I hope it's written somewhere that Londo and Jakar can never be friends." Okay. Yeah.
They, even when they were friends in season 5,
They're still.
they were still kind of frenemies.
Mhm.
So I'm okay with where they were. I'm okay with where they wound up.
It was a fun ride.
Yeah.
Not for Jakar, but
No.
I mean,
no. No.
we were super, super underwhelmed with Delenn's transformation.
Yeah.
You had a lot of confusion around why she would even do this. Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Your quote was great. All right, so she has hair. Yay. I like this a lot. You thought, we were talking about when Delenn says to Kosh, show me, let me see you. And you thought that maybe when you see a Vorlon, a true Vorlon, you see your future.
Oh.
And so Delenn was like,
Yeah.
okay, this will play out, this will be fine. But you went a step further. And you said that maybe this is why Lita got called back to Earth. Because she saw her future, which ties to Psycor's future, and they had to pull her back before she could say anything.
Interesting. How's a good guy? Man, that's one of those red yarn theories that like if we when we get to the end of this run and we're not doing Babylon 5 for the third time, but we're just doing like individual like things and we run like a what if episode.
Yeah.
That'd be a great, like, let's pull on this thread and see where the story, let's write the story that could have been.
Yeah.
That'd be a fun one.
I really like that idea of yours. It was cool. But Brent, here's the big thing. Last one on this. My prediction is that Anna, it's Sheridan's wife, got blown up near Zahadum by the shadows. And so now Sheridan is going to have a deep personal stake in the upcoming war.
You know what? To be fair, Anna maybe didn't get blown up, but she died on Zahadum with the shadows, and it was personal for Sheridan.
It was very personal for him.
Yeah.
It's why he went, right? It's the whole thing.
Yeah.
I listened to us talk about this, Brent. You already said it, went and looked at a lot of JMS's stuff.
I did.
Scoured the internet. What did you get?
He had quite a bit. A lot of it still revolving around the change in character from Sinclair to Sheridan and things like that. Also, he's talking a lot more about how he's building things. In this particular episode, Jakar reads a poem that is quoting Yeats, the great poet Yeats, however you say his name. And he says this: one aspect of the Yeats quote and the Abraham Lincoln quote that we had and the Tennyson quote and many others that we've had so far, Jeff, is that I think a lot of folks at some point tuned out of or just aren't interested in literature and poetry because they've never really been exposed to it. So I'm being a little subversive. I work some of it into the show. I choose which has meaning to the show or the characters. Here's the clue: in hopes that viewers will dig out the original material.
I love that.
So what he wants us to do is when we hear one of these quotes, he wants us to go research it and find out the material and dig that stuff out. I love that.
Yeah.
But he also says this, and this gives such validation to you and me. Granted, television must entertain at a minimum, but it should also elevate, ennoble, and educate.
That's great.
That's why we do this show.
It's what we do.
We're trying to dig out those messages. Yes, we are right to look for the messages through JMS's work.
It's his intent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, we may have started as hoity-toity, better than thou, but it also gives credence to what we've said. It's not, Star Trek does not own the market on messages in sci-fi. It's what sci-fi just does.
What it
as
is.
a genre.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now regarding Delenn being male at first, he does not mention androgynous. Androgynous is kind of like sort of a little in between. Male.
Oh, wow.
Delenn was supposed to be male at first. The plan was to turn Delenn from male to female in Chrysalis and all that sort of stuff. It's like, it would have made a hell of an impact. But my concern when I made the decision to not do that was basically we couldn't do it really well. Because they would have to alter her voice through the entire first season.
Yeah.
Because of having Mira do the role as well. And it would just sounded really bogus, real bogus, he says, quoting him. And they just couldn't get it right. And he just decided it wasn't worth the payoff to do all of that work. So they just allowed Delenn to be female. And stay female.
Big decision.
So, it is. And I love that they had those thoughts, and honestly, just the integrity of like, we would love to do this. We just don't have the technology to make it work. right now.
Which says a lot, given the CG they put on screen in season 1, where he's like, this is good enough to go on, which some of it was. But to make the decision that the audio wasn't there, you know that had to be really, really bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Moving on with Delenn, somebody had asked a question, why does Delenn's hair go under her bone ridge? And you and I have talked about how that bone ridge doesn't look right anymore, right? How like you see the gap and everything now in the makeup. Listen to this. Oh, listen to this. When Delenn's physical structure changed, the epidermal layer on her head grew thinner. So now there's a gap between the skin and the bone, which has grown out, and hair can be draped through it or laid over it.
That's amazing.
Now, here's what I want to know. Was that on purpose, or was this JMS looking at an answer and going, here's the answer that I'm writing right now off the top of my head? Either way, I love it.
It's perfect.
I love it.
Yeah.
Wow. And it also, again, gives credence to what you and I were calling out in our first watch of like, no, this is a thing. And people are like, you guys are being done. No, like, it's a thing.
Yep.
Oh, turns out they did it on purpose. Cool. I'm glad with that. Just tell me, I love that. So, this one's not super important, but I do want to take it because I think it has a little funny story to it. Regarding Anna Sheridan and her last name. Apparently people were asking, like, why did she take Sheridan's last name? This is the future. Don't people just keep their own last names? Because, Star Trek does that too, right? And he's like, yeah, she chose to take Sheridan's last name. That was her decision. You have that option. Some do, some don't. So if you have this rule that no women can take a husband's last name, that's betraying something. You're just being as restrictive as those who insist that women must take their husband's last name. He's like, me, I'm pro-choice on every single level. She felt like it, so Anna did it. He's like, and as a side note, my own spousal over unit kept her own name, but then who in her right mind would take the name Straczynski? I love that.
It's funny because we see the other, not necessarily the other side, but a more extreme side, where we get Lise Hampton, Edgar's Garibaldi, Franz.
Oh, my word.
Right?
Right? Well, no, she didn't take Franz's name.
She didn't, but she should have.
Well,
although it says a lot about
that's an example of somebody who is taking the name and not taking the name all at the same time.
Doing it all. She's Schrodinger's maiden name.
There you go. There you go. Hey, so something we do need to look at when we go back and watch for the third time, not on a podcast, just individually. Something that he says, another thing that can now be reinterpreted is the look on Garibaldi's aide's face. His name is Jack. We finally get his name in this episode. His name is Jack, the guy that shot him in the back, right? The look on his face back in Sky Full of Stars when Garibaldi didn't go for the whitewash of the security guard's financial records.
Oh.
So when that scene's happening, look at Jack's face. There's a look on his face, and there's a reason why he has that look, because he's the betrayer. And he's like, yeah, you should do that. You're not going to do that. You're not going to do that. And also, how did the body manage to get out of the security station without anybody being aware of it? Speaking of Jack, though, let's continue to talk about him just for a moment. There was a question of whether Jack had contact with the Psi Corps, and maybe he was doing this under Psi Corps manipulation. He's like, no, Jack wasn't seduced by them, but he was there to meet the Psi Corps and to escort them to see Sinclair. And perhaps maybe was there a contact that was made there?
Okay.
Maybe. I thought that's a nice little what if kind of a thing they had going on there. So he says this. People were asking whether Morden was human or not.
Yeah.
I asked this question.
Yeah, we both talked about it.
Here's his exact quote. Morden is human. More than that, I cannot say. G'Kar looks different this year. They didn't change his makeup. It's just Andreas Katsoulis put on some weight over the hiatus.
Okay.
And the makeup changed. He said he actually winds up dropping it fairly quickly and the makeup like corrects itself. But, and he goes, hell, we all actually put on a few pounds over the hiatus. So whatever. Speaking of this, I think you and I have talked about this, or at least we've had it shared with us, that the new makeup for Mira takes actually longer than the old.
Yeah.
Which is odd, but it just says there's a lot more detail work for it now. So it does take longer. I got two more things that I want to talk about. One is this. You know how you and I going through, we're like, okay, G'Kar's the bad guy, Londo's the comic relief, this, that, and the other, right?
Yeah.
Well, regarding why people are now starting to switch places, right? This is exactly what I noted early on. The intent to set up in the very beginning a situation where those who've seen sci-fi before, you and me, will go, oh, I got this. That's the bad guy. That's the good guy. And that's the comic relief. And here's the ally. And so on, because that's generally what we've seen on television and sci-fi. You set up various sides from day one, and virtually nobody moves. So you get them to rely on their conditioning, and then you begin to move the chairs around. And suddenly what you thought was the good guy is actually maybe something else. And what you thought was the comic relief is actually a tragic and dark figure. And what you thought was the bad guy is actually maybe one of the real heroes of the story. And you try to make a path where those results changes, and you make them as interesting and as moving and as scary as possible. That being said, to all of you out there, all of you Babylon 5 veterans, when you're listening to another reactor, you're meeting somebody who for the very first time is going through the early seasons, and they're going, wow, G'Kar is just the warrior bad guy and all of that. Give them a break. JMS set us up on purpose.
Yeah.
He set us up. So don't get mad at us.
Hook, line, and sinker here.
Yeah. You and I were, he was, and you all, like that was you and I. We fell for it. He did it on purpose.
Yep. Well done. What I love about that, Brent.
Well done, JMS.
Totally.
Well done.
And here's what I love about it, because he goes a step further, and that they don't stop there. He doesn't like change their role and they stop. They keep changing. And I think at the end of the story for almost every character, none of them match an archetype. They're a little of this, a little of that, maybe a lot of this, but yeah, I'd say some of the most complex characters and character development in entertainment.
So I want one more thing, and this is going to be a little, actually, I'm going to save this.
Okay.
I'm going to save this for something that you and I call Club 65.
All right.
I can't say more than that because we don't talk about the club outside of the club.
We don't.
But if you know what Club 65 is, meet us there, and we're going to talk about more character arcs in the original plan. Do you hear what I'm saying?
I am, yeah.
More character arcs. Specifically, what would have happened if Lita had stayed, Dr. Kyle had stayed, Takashima had stayed, Carolyn Sykes had stayed, and even some extra Sinclair stuff.
Okay.
So we'll talk about that in Club 65 afterwards. So that being said, anything else that I have from JMS, and there is still a few more, I'm going to save it for the episode.
Well, then let's watch the episode.
Let's do it.
For you joining us for the first time, what's going to happen is Brent and I are going to watch this episode for the second time right here, right now. If you're joining us on YouTube, you're going to see the kind of cut up version of this. It's done for copyright purposes. If you want to see the unedited, complete version with all of our fumbles and thoughts and whatever that kind of the rabbit holes that we go down, you can get that at our Patreon page. That's at patreon.com/Babylon5First with the number 5 and the word first.
And if you guys are listening to us on any of the podcasting apps, the audio, sit tight, because you're going to catch the audio of the reaction. We used to cut it out. We don't do that anymore because we want you guys joining in on the fun. And frankly, Jeff and I are talking a lot more during those videos, and you got to have the context for that anyway. So with that, Jeff, let's watch an episode.
Let's go.
This is madness. How much longer will this council be held hostage to its missing members? Their behavior is inexcusable.
Ambassador Delenn remains indisposed.
Indisposed.
She's in a cocoon.
Yes?
And do you have any idea when Ambassador G'Kar will decide to grace us with his presence? For that matter, do you have any idea where he is?
Dude, his thing is
One
blacker
deserts his
and bigger.
post
And
without
much bigger.
Any explanation. The other one picks the most breathtakingly inconvenient moment possible to explore new career options, like becoming a butterfly. I move that we reprimand both governments.
You know,
Demand
this
that they
is
assign
rich.
new
This is rich coming from a guy who in Born to the Purple sloughed everybody off for the girl back in his room.
Right. Hey, Vera, you just go do the whole thing. Like,
Right.
You got this.
This is rich coming from him.
This, Brent, would be the perfect episode to spin off the Sidekicks show that we still want and need.
Absolutely.
representatives to this council.
The guy was like, eh?
You know, JMS said he wants us to write our
Seeing
own
that the
story.
motion isn't carried and the rest
That's
of the
the story
agenda
I
has been
wanna write.
tabled. I recommend that we adjourn for the rest of the day and reconvene tomorrow at 9 and try this again.
I've told you all I know.
Oh, yeah, from
We left
go.
to investigate the attack on our base in Quadrant 37.
We're not going to make it.
Yes, we will.
Tell the others.
So at this point, we don't understand that they're fighting shadow fighters.
Oh, yeah.
Babylon bless your names. We will be remembered with honor.
This says a lot
Set
about the
jump gate
Narn
sequence.
and how just their natural go-to is essentially a kamikaze approach. Hey, we're not going to win this, so let's do as much damage as we can, and that means sacrificing ourselves.
Are they at Zahadum right now?
They are at Zahadum. We're going to hear that here in a little bit. Jakar is going to talk about it.
They're at Zahadum.
What's funny about this, and that's going on in the Council Chambers chat over here, but you were adamant for years that we didn't hear Zahadum until like late into season 2.
Yeah, we didn't.
But even in like our first time discussion, like, oh, this Zahadum thing. What's this Zahadum thing? Whew, it was gone for you.
Nope. I refuse to believe that it was any earlier.
It's groupthink, right? It's groupthink that they said it in this one.
That's right. That's right.
Destination Babylon 5.
So they were fighting shadows there.
Yeah.
That's what they were fighting. Wow.
And they did not do well, right?
No.
It's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah. Hey, these guys obliterated our entire planet. Well, I guess they didn't yet.
Not yet. No.
These guys obliterated the whole Raider party.
Mm-hmm.
And what?
And they took out their base in Quadrant 37 or whatever that was.
Yeah, because you can have 37 quadrants out there. All right, I'm going to pause this because they're saying this in the chat. Bringing this up, Zahadum equals Khazad-dûm, Lord of the Rings. AMS has specific words about this I would like to bring up right now. Is the name Zahadum a reference to Khazad-dûm from Lord of the Rings? This is from JMS, folks. Don't at me. At him. No, it's not. I always imagined that Zahadum was originally the Minbari word for the word place. Za. Za has echoes of Intil Za and Isil Za. Not really no, because I imagine the word Zahadum, so there's Za, which means place, and then Doom, which means doom. It meant the place of doom.
Okay.
In his mind. That's not to say I wasn't aware of Khazad-dûm, but that was not on my mind at the time.
Interesting.
That's what Zahadum means. So let's correct all that.
My sister's coming for a visit, and I have time before she arrives.
Franklin's like, I don't care about
Maybe
this.
we don't like this episode
Who's
because
Mr.
of the
Garibaldi?
music.
Frankly, not great. Pulled out every trick I know, and nothing seems to work. He's
Captain,
not
I'd like to
coming out
put
of
him
that
down.
I see.
Heads up, Captain. I don't
tried
really follow the
contacting
rules,
his
and I
next
make my own
Tried
up all the
and
time.
failed.
Just
I'm
saying.
afraid if we wait any longer, it won't do any good.
Bottom line,
Last
me.
year, I came into possession of an alien device capable of draining the life energy from one person.
Hey,
and
let's
giving it to
bring this
somebody
thing
else. It was used as a kind of death penalty, but it can be used safely at lower settings to heal people. Still, there is a risk, and I wanted your permission before trying it. It's his only hope.
Nia's pointing out this is the first interaction between Franklin and Sheridan.
We don't have much choice.
Right? Because it was Ivanova who interacted with him last week.
Who are you going to hook up to the machine?
Well, I can't ask anyone else
Having
to
this
take the risk
in-depth
if something
conversation
goes
in the
wrong.
middle of the jazz club.
I'll do it.
No, you're not.
What
Sheridan's-
I really like about this scene, though, what an awful spot for Bruce
I know,
Boxleitner
I was just
that I
thinking
froze
that.
this.
For the audio listeners, Jeff paused this right as Bruce Boxleitner closed his eyes, so he's just sitting there like stand sleeping.
Actually,
standing.
I think he has the look I would have after talking to Dr. Franklin, which is,
oh my god, right? That's exactly what it is.
but early Dr. Franklin, let's be clear. But what I love about this is with Sinclair was buttoned up tight all the time. Like he seemed like he was always working. There were times he tried to get away, but it just never worked out. What we see here, again, establishing our new captain, he lets loose, kind of, space loose a little bit. But he's wearing civvies, having a little drink, just being dude.
Johnny!
Lizzie!
Johnny and Lizzie. Do we ever
You look
hear
like
from
you've gained a
Lizzie
little weight
again?
since the last time I saw you.
Even in Road Home, when we go to the farm
3
home, we
years
never
in
even
deep
talk
patrol
about it.
eating
Never even
synthetics.
mentioned.
I took one look at the garden here and completely lost
Here's
control.
the
Sounds
thing.
great. I'm starved.
She's this conspiracy
Let's
theory.
get you something to eat.
Oh,
She's the
okay.
conspiracy theory.
And he's just like, oh, yes.
Narns will never be able to prove that it was done at your instigation. Perfect symmetry.
Morton's like, we're kind of killing it over here.
I believe
Right.
that this little demonstration will bring you some very interesting propositions.
Yes.
A person in an important position like yours hears many things. If you should hear about anything strange happening out on the rim, I'd appreciate being informed.
I mean, this is the way the mafia works, right?
Yep.
I'm going to do you a favor. Oh, now I've got a favor.
I even
now
like
you're in my debt.
I like his pattern too, where he's like, yeah, good stuff, good stuff. One more thing.
Nothing has ever really been the same between us, not since Anna passed away. It's been 2 years.
Johnny.
Then why do I still have to remind myself that she's gone? Sometimes I will turn to say something to her. She's not there, but just for a second,
I don't know why she's not there.
Oh, his voice broke just a little there. I like that.
Then I remember.
Take this episode, put it 3 or 4 episodes later, give him a couple of little moments,
I miss
and
her
then pay
and
it
love
off
her
right here.
as much right now.
That's
as
a
I
great
did when
point.
she
We're
was
watching
still
this
here.
through President Sheridan's eyes, but we didn't know him at all when we watched this.
She was my friend for a lot longer than you were married to her, and I miss her too.
Oh, he's sopping up the ooze. Did he repair the crack? She's trying to get out. Did he repair the crack?
Dude, we have to go back and watch just the creepiness of this. It's just
Dude, this right here totally tracks with in-game linear.
Yeah.
He is like
He's already.
Dude.
It's almost like at first he was Delenn and Ducat to her, like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. You know, I'm putting her up on this pedestal.
Yeah.
But now with this, she is transcended. Like she is, oh my God, this is just.
And when he's crying, I mean, it rewrites him crying when she's in the chrysalis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like he's not crying because like he's lost her. She can't. He'll never be with her now, or whatever. Or maybe he will. Maybe he won't. Like, I just look. It's like he repaired the scene.
Listen.
Soon now. Soon.
That's not
That
Hannibal
is evil
Lecter.
villain stuff right there.
Silence of the Lambs.
Soon.
Yeah.
Soon now.
It puts the chrysalis in the basket.
Couldn't sleep. This is the device, huh?
That's actually a really good segue from
Plug
his
me in.
conversation about Anna into this.
I thought we agreed. Look, I can't have you giving your life energy and operating this machine at the same time.
He's my patient.
But when I took over B5, he became my responsibility. I
He's
don't
never
think losing
met this
my
man.
head of security
Exactly.
2 weeks into the job will look good on my resume.
This
All right, we split the difference.
is like an
We'll both do
echo
it.
of what he
But I'll
did
go
with
first.
the CNC staff,
Configuration.
where he's all, "Hey, you guys are great. I don't want to serve with anybody other than you." He doesn't know Franklin at all, but he's like, "This is not your job, man. Like,
Yeah.
let me do this." And in here, what he's kind of saying also is, "You're more important than I am."
Right.
Like, I literally just got replaced. Actually, now I'm saying this, we had this conversation the first time. But to Sheridan, he's like, "I just got replaced. It's fine." Yes, Dr. Kyle also got replaced with this, but in this moment, the station can do without a commander. It cannot do without CMO. But it's cool. On their first like they come to they have a hard conversation, come to a compromise, and gonna save a life.
We must warn the others, Nath. After 1,000 years, the darkness has come again.
This is important. So, well, clearly it's important, but stepping back important. Most of what we learn about the shadows moving forward up until, later on is from the Minbari, from Delenn.
Mm-hmm.
Everything the Minbari currently know about the shadows has been filtered through the Vorlon. Quan, there's no filter. This stuff was happening in real time. He captured it. This is the most true record of the first Shadow War that exists.
Yeah.
So in a real way, G'Kar is the voice of reason and truth that no one is going to listen to.
This is also perfect storytelling right here. I'm gonna give this episode some props. The whole Sheridan stuff notwithstanding, we've had this whole season to sit here and say the shadows have come again. They're back. They're awake. Like this this amps everything up in all the right ways.
Mm-hmm. And
so
it's
good.
And it's just, you can feel the dial being turned slowly, just up a little bit more.
What's up, Doc?
What's up, Doc?
What's up, Doc?
Franklin to Ivanova.
He's a Looney Tunes guy.
Yeah, exactly.
that.
Yes.
Get down to
I
my
love
lab.
that.
Garibaldi's awake.
On our way.
Of course, it's the first thing he said.
No, I gotta see the commander.
I just want to get
It's not
a
here.
big piece of
I can
Velcro and
reassign.
just slap it on his chest right now.
It's not cool, man.
Rip it off.
Not cool.
Out of it for a few days, the whole place goes to hell.
Well, I hope I can prove otherwise.
Who are you?
Captain John Sheridan, your new CO.
No, you.
Yeah.
No,
My friend is the CEO.
but I think we'll
here.
get along just fine.
I'm gonna need more than
Garibaldi?
you saying that.
I know you're tired. Do you remember who shot you?
Yeah, Jack, maybe not the time or place.
Mm-hmm.
I keep trying.
So JMS talks about
Very soon, Ambassador, I may require your help in the interests of all our governments.
Help? My help? Astonishing.
What a different
Have you spoken
G'Kar
to
we're
the
seeing
others?
right
No,
here.
I was just
So actually, I was getting ready to stop because I had a thought. Do yours first.
I'd say, what a different G'Kar from season 1. Here he is. We have to tell people. We have to help people. We have to come together. There's a thing bigger than us, which is seeded, right? The whole things that are bigger than us. But
Also remember, his whole purpose was to keep people at each other's throats.
yep,
Yeah.
this is a huge step
Huge
for
shift.
him.
Huge shift. Here's the other thing. This is interesting. What does he say to Londo here? He's like, the things between our people between our people will never be resolved without Centauri blood.
Mm-hmm.
But then he says, but I may need your help.
Now
correspond that to later at the forgiveness thing. My people can never forgive your people for what they've done, but I can forgive you.
Mm-hmm.
There's a nice parallel, nice bookend right there that I find.
He's like, oh God.
Oh, shh. Knuckle flux.
Yes.
Dr. Franklin, could you please come to Ambassador Delenn's quarters at 1?
Well, I'm kind of in the middle of things. Mr.
Dude,
Garibaldi
he is squared up. And
this is urgent. I think something may be wrong with Ambassador Delenn.
So, I'm not even Minbari anymore.
Yeah.
Become what I suffer requires you.
Requires him because he's human and she's now half human, right?
I think, yeah.
Okay.
And honestly,
that means she knows what she's supposed to turn into.
Yeah, this is part of her plan.
Not just, hey, I'm going into this thing because it's the prophecy. Let's see what happens. She knows what she's turning into. Except now she's a rock.
And I think Franklin also has all the Minbari medical knowledge as well. Like he might.
Well, he's a big xenobiologist guy. So yeah.
She died on a deep space exploration vessel that exploded. You had nothing to do with that.
No, but I'm responsible for her being on that ship in the first place.
Yeah, this is the part that's too much.
Yep.
Like
We were gonna
the
get
thing at
together on
dinner,
our anniversary.
fine. This sent it over the top to me.
She'd arranged to meet me when we pulled into space dock off of Centauri Prime.
I feel like Bruce
Tell her I
Boxleitner
couldn't
doesn't
make
care
it.
about this either. Like he's just like, I'm saying these lines because I need to. Like this is dumb.
I mean, he's
Too
acting.
damn busy.
Everything about him right now feels like he's acting.
Yeah.
Not that this is John Sheridan.
Well, right
it
after
feels
I
like Bruce
canceled, she
Boxleitner
took that
acting.
science
It's get in front of the
officer's
class
job
and do
in
your
Acres.
monologue.
The 2-week survey.
Which I can kind of forgive
Said
him
she'd be back
because
before
he's so
I even
new to
noticed
it.
she was gone.
Yeah. And it is dumb.
It's just too soon. That's what I'm going to maintain. It's actually, I said that this was awful and this is a bad way to take the character and blah, 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 blah. I'm going to rescind all that. I'm going to retract all of that I just said. I'm just going to say it's just too soon. It's just too soon. It's just not seated well. And JMS's defense, he had to get it up and going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Gotta
Like
keep moving.
He had a big changer. He's got to get it done and get it moving. So here we go.
When we used to talk to each other over long distance.
This was eye rolling to me.
Yeah, I
gotta be
actually
honest
really
with you.
resonated with this.
I don't know why you and I switched places on this one.
We didn't.
Last time I talked to her.
So what this was is you were like, this is dumb. Like, come on, whatever. And to your point, to your defense, it is such a trope, right? Yeah. But when we watch this, I was very hot off the heels of my dad passing away, my mom passing away earlier, and because of COVID, I didn't get to tell my mom anything before she died. So this hit me in a real way. I think this is one of those things. I said this the first time as well. This is one of the examples of our lived experience impacting our relation to the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just didn't want her to go without telling her I loved her.
I had a problem with that. He would be okay with her going as long as he got to say I love you one last time.
Yeah, right. Oh, sorry.
Dude.
Shoot.
Well, you're clearly human because we still see the red mouth and the white teeth, and we see the red inside the nose where they can only go so far with the makeup.
You, Delenn, are a monster.
A dark and terrible place known as Zahadu. It has been dead for 1,000 years.
It's weird they just said Zahadu in
Our
this
ship
episode.
will arrive in 12 hours, coming
I
out of
don't know what you're talking
hyperspace
about.
as close to the enemy's homeworld
I
as
didn't hear
possible.
anything. They're talking
They will
about this
scan
other
the
world
planet
over
for
here.
signs of life and return to hyperspace before anyone can attack.
And if someone is living there,
then all our races stand on the edge of extinction.
He gets it.
The Narns have sent a military ship to investigate the world called...
Is it Narns or Narn? Isn't the plural of Narn?
It's Narns.
I
With
see
an
you
S.
know it.
I don't like that.
I want to track that and see if that changes throughout the show because I'm
Do you
pretty
by any
sure at some
chance know
point
when
the
it's
plural of
scheduled to
Narn
arrive?
becomes.
I think it does.
Yes.
No?
In a little under 10 hours.
But yeah, let's try.
I think it sounds better as the plural.
Narn.
The Narn have sent ships
Yeah.
out. Yeah.
Look, I gotta find out who did this to me.
Given your condition, this will have to be a deep scan. It may cause you some discomfort.
He's like, I'm Garibaldi. You're not going to have to go that
I
deep.
gotta take my gloves off. Oh, that's okay. That's easier.
I'm raw dogging this scan.
So apparently, people were saying
I
that this
told
is
you
a
not to poke around in
a
things
big,
that are too big for
plot
you.
hole here.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, it's a little late for that.
Because-
Against the wall. I think.
So right here, where they place the camera, is
Yeah, well, it's a little late for
exactly
that.
where they placed the camera in Garibaldi's point of view here is exactly where Jerry Doyle was standing on the set.
Okay.
When they filmed this spot. They were saying that Talia should have been able to see Jack behind him, but JMS says not seeing the shooter from outside Garibaldi's point of view, basically you're having to look through his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
The eyes see more than the brain recalls at any given moment. So when they shot the scene, JMS was actually on set. They put the camera exactly where he was standing. And so they were very careful to get his point of view that they could only catch it in the reflection and not see him anywhere else in the shot.
I like that. Because it's not like reading his mind lets you watch the episode.
Exactly.
You have one camera.
Well, it's the thing that always gets me when people do go back in somebody's memory and somebody's mind, and then the camera is third person outside of the person.
Mm-hmm.
Like that shouldn't exist.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know.
Ambassador Delenn's out of that weird cocoon, and she's got wings just like a butterfly. You gotta come see.
Got wings just like a butterfly. She got wings. MR Ducks. Oh, got him. Yeah, get him, Lou.
Go ahead.
I love the adherence to due process here. This is great. Dude, yeah, make my fragging solar year.
He'll get his due process.
Chief, that's enough.
There's a new order coming back home, Garibaldi. You can either be part of it or you can be stepped on.
Here we go.
A winner or a loser.
Here's what I
I'm
love.
with the side that's gonna win.
Going back to JMS's original plan, right? There's the stuff going on with the Shadow Men.
Mm-hmm.
There's also the stuff with stuff that's happening back home.
Yeah, the Earth stuff.
And JMS is raising both of those things up in the same episode, which is fascinating to watch the plan take shape, even given the changes. You know?
Yeah, like it's still those nuggets.
During the time I served as vice president under Santiago, I owe it
He
to
did.
Henry to personally oversee any inquiry.
I like that little moment
The first
there.
shuttle out, Captain. You're a good man, Sheridan.
Thank you.
Good work on this.
What a great Sheridan scene. Good Clark scene also. Like this shows how, smarmy and gross the stuff he's doing. But this is so great for Sheridan. What we know of him right now is he can take these disparate puzzle pieces and put it together in real time when it matters.
Uh-huh.
We literally see him putting puzzle pieces together of like, wait, my conspiracy theorist brain is really rolling and putting some stuff together.
Yeah. And Suzanne calls it out in our council chambers. And I thought the same thing, Suzanne, when I saw it. I love the blocking of how Sheridan turns away from Clark and we see them. And as a director with actors and stuff, one of the things I tell people, you don't always have to face people when you're talking to them. Not on stage anyway.
Yeah.
You don't. You just don't.
But it's even here, just to get into the jurisdictional stuff, the charge is attempted murder.
Uh-huh.
There's no charge of assassination or conspiracy or anything like that. So like we have to do our investigation here on the crime that he did. We don't have anything to tie him to the other
put him to the other thing. Yeah. But he also just got overruled by his commander in chief, right?
Right. Yeah.
Assuming the president is commander of chief of military, which I think we assumed that.
I'm afraid to say that the ship dispatched to investigate jal'Zha Doom has been destroyed.
If only they said where that
Reporting it as an
happened.
accident with the jump engine, since it happened
Well,
just
the
as
ship
they
was
left
out
hyperspace.
investigating something.
The Kari said
This cannot have been an accident.
I wish they would have known more
When a
specifically what that
warship
something
jumps
was.
to normal space, it's briefly out of contact because of the energy drain. It might have been attacked during that period, but that couldn't happen unless
Somebody.
unless they-
Okay, yeah, this is it right here. Unless they knew a ship. So the intent here is that Jakar would look at both Sheridan and Londo. Not sure which one of them may have leaked this information, but pretty sure knowing one of the two did. Although JMS says he thinks the editing focused on Londo way too long in the shot. He it really was supposed to be meant. He's not supposed to know who it is.
I told you too.
It was supposed to be even between the two, but the editing focuses a little bit more on Londo, and he says it kind of shifted, I guess, the feel of it.
Knew the ship was coming and were waiting for it, but no one knew except
you. What exactly are you implying?
That's not too bad.
Well, he said it and he looked at Londo and then it went to Londo and we never saw his eyes come back to Sheridan. It just cut to Sheridan next.
If I may address the council, Ambassador Delenn has been unavailable of late. She has now returned and wishes to know if she may take back her seat on the council.
Okay, I do like this moment.
Yeah.
And I just know that because I
course,
watched
please,
this while I was putting together the video.
Yeah.
This is a neat little reveal. You and I may have been underwhelmed on it on the first watch, but on the next, you know what? We are watching this through season 5 Delenn. This is Delenn that we know.
For the first time. See that in the credits coming up next season, I think.
Yeah.
Or maybe this season.
And Mira is so beautiful.
Ambassador Sinclair
She really
has been
is.
allowed to live on my world as an act of good faith, to create a greater understanding.
Like her makeup and hair
between
is
humans.
on point. Unfortunately, she
In
won't be able to
return,
get the makeup later.
I have undergone this change with the blessings of my government,
Sort of.
so that I may become a bridge between
Some of
our
my
worlds,
government.
in the hope that we will never know war between us again.
And so that I can have your baby.
So imagine though, I the music was great. The setting was perfect. I felt that her voice was very forward in the mix, a little stronger than a normal thing.
Yeah.
And then maybe I'm actually, I know I'm just reading into this, but imagine if she had that affected voice up to this point. And not only is like, oh my gosh, look at me, but then you hear McFarlane's voice. Like, that would have been so impactful.
Sure. And in Jameis's point, it's like, even if we did it, like,
Yeah. You
Like,
get one moment.
for this one little moment that people would not have really even appreciated as much as you and I did not the first time we watched
at
it.
all. No.
I will say I appreciate this moment far more on the second watch than I did the first watch.
Same. And I think in her explanation now we know rings directly to the original pitch and kind of changes, right, as the series progresses. But
But it's also, we got our Delenn back.
Exactly. Now we have
Now
her.
we have our Delenn back.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we get to watch her figure her stuff out. This is gonna be great.
Sit there, my jaw on the floor, looking at her.
I can't say as I blame you. Has her
She was
genetic
purty.
structure changed as well, or just her outward appearance?
That's a
don't
good
know,
question.
but, she didn't seem too inclined to talk about it.
After our talk the other day, and you blaming yourself for Anna taking that job on the Icarus, I think it's something you ought to see.
I remember I called this her dating
It's
video.
part of a message Anna sent to me about a week before she passed away.
You lost your wife a couple years ago. I'm sorry. It's awful. Somebody comes up and says, I have a thing she recorded before she died that you've never seen. Do you watch it?
Yes.
Yeah?
Absolutely. Also, I watch it alone
Mhm.
with no one else around.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
You need to get the out of this room right now.
Yeah. I just think it's good. I think for him it makes sense because he has such a tainted view of what happened. But I still think like it'd be hard. You know, just like, oh my gosh, am I ready to do this? It's a lot of courage on his part that he's gonna just do it. Also, it's in the script, of course, but
Oh, I would. I don't know that it's that much courage. It's I don't know. This is my wife. Yeah. Yeah.
Play.
And you know, Lizzie was smart enough to know.
I am really excited about signing on board the Icarus next week. John and I were supposed to spend some time together. Dr. Chang thinks he's found the ruins to an
To know enough
ancient
to give him some
civilization
privacy.
nobody's ever heard of. The chance to be there when the discovery is confirmed is just too good an opportunity to pass up.
yeah, it turns out you should have
I
passed it
already
up.
decided to put off our vacation and go when John called to tell me that he had to cancel, so it worked out just great. Though the board here looked so upset about breaking the news, I wanted to tell him I was going away anyway, but we had so much else to cover, and there's never enough time. I'll just have to fill him in when I get back. Someone said that love knows no borders, and ours certainly proves the point.
Aw. Like in his case, this was perfect. This is exactly what he needed to hear.
Well, he blamed himself, and he blamed himself irrationally.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna say that he was the reason that she went and did this was because I didn't say I love you or something stupid like that. No, come on now.
His opinion was unprocessed grief.
Yeah.
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 This is why therapy is helpful, people.
Yeah.
So what's the problem?
On a hunch, I just checked on the ship taking the prisoner back to Earth. He was transferred to another ship a half an hour ago. It had Earth Force security markings. The ID codes don't match any ship registered to Earth Force.
Great. So he's gone and all the evidence with him.
I'm afraid so.
Because we
Ask
didn't
the
make
question here,
copies.
Jeff.
President Clark.
Huh?
Because we didn't make
He's not
copies of
taking
the
any
evidence.
From JMS. Oh, I'm quite sure there was a backup made of all those data pieces.
Yeah.
Of all the data. I'm quite sure. But step back for a moment and ask what that entails. Will any of it stand up in any court of law? There's a difference between that which we know or think we know and believe, or that which we can prove. And without the one most important pieces of all, which is Jack himself, everything else is speculative, circumstantial, and conjectural.
I'm going to reframe that a little bit. In 1995, we actually moved data. We didn't just copy it because storage was at a premium. So the idea of just making a copy to give it was not a thing we thought of. That's a more modern technological thought. Because I don't buy that explanation. Hey, we have evidence. We should probably hold on to this just in case. Because maybe something will happen to the ship on the way. That's data hygiene right there. But data hygiene didn't really exist to that level back in the 90s.
Fair enough.
2 episodes in a row ending in an empty CNC. Brent, that's Revelations. Second time. We did not like this episode the first time around. What did you think this time?
I liked it a lot better. And I'm going to 100% give it. I'm watching this through later eyes.
Yeah.
Also, I think there's a bit of, I knew going in the parts I wouldn't like, which is Sheridan boohooing about his wife. And so I was able to just sort of gloss over that and pay attention to everything else going on in the episode, which, Jeff, was really strong.
Mm-hmm.
It was really, really strong. So, yeah, I'm going to give, I like this episode much better than I did last time. How about you?
Same. I actually really enjoyed this episode. Again, the Sheridan stuff, same thing, but you know what? It didn't feel like it took up as much space as it did the first time we watched it. I loved the Jakar stuff, the shadow stuff. The breakout of Delenn was incredible. And even though like I'm over here like blah, 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 Bester, that's not the point of this episode. This is totally in character for Garibaldi to overstep and get personally involved in a thing. This was an excellent episode.
Yeah, I'm with you. And our newest council chamber member who is with us tonight, Dundradal, you said it earlier better, talks about this as great world building and context. I'm actually going to push back on that a little bit. I don't think this was a lot of world building. This was the world has been built. It's context. It's we're pushing things forward. This was great. I loved this. I loved every bit of this. World building can just be a little mind numbing. This was not mind numbing. This was things are in place.
Yeah.
Now let's push some dominoes over.
Totally. Did you get any messages or anything out of this one?
Oh, I feel like I should have. I didn't.
To help bolster that,
didn't.
our first time
Yes.
around, we said no messages. This got 0 deltas from us the first time.
Fair enough. Did you have any?
No, I didn't get any.
Okay. Hey, real quick, for all of you out there who are listening to us, drop a comment down below, send us an email, send us a message. If you got a message out of this episode, let us know. Jeff and I missed it now twice in a row.
Right? Yeah, we didn't see it. I will say that one message possibly is, hey, pay attention to people when they bring big stuff to you, but we don't know that at this point. We as viewers are looking at Jakar being like, dude, maybe it's not a big deal. Power down.
Yeah.
That's us knowing stuff.
I will say one more thing about this particular episode. JMS considered this to be part 3 of a 3-parter season switchover episode, starting with Chrysalis.
Okay.
And he considered these really to be one big story.
I can see that.
Yeah, and he's like, we deal with just as many issues in this episode as we did back in Chrysalis. It's just now we're resolving them instead of leaving them open at the end. Like Delenn's back and she's open and ready to go. We've got the shadows are bouncing around out there. Londo has taken his first steps towards shadowdom. We've resolved the Garibaldi thing. Garibaldi is going to be back in his spot.
Mm-hmm.
Lanier is still having to clean up, unfortunately.
Yeah. So gross.
Yeah, so gross. Ugh.
That's a cool way of looking at it. Well, Brent, as we develop the definitive and immutable and objectively correct ranking of the second season of Babylon 5, we don't get to pull all 3 episodes into that ranking, just 2 of those 3. The honor, the responsibility, the duty falls on to you, my friend, to rank Revelations. Our current ranking right now is in the top spot, points O departure. Where, sir, are you going to place Revelations?
Yeah, this one's really easy for me. My respect and admiration for this episode has skyrocketed since the last time we watched it. However, there were still parts of this that made me want to, shove a very sharp stick into my eardrums.
That's fair.
And we've talked about those. So this episode still is going to take the number 2 spot. It's not better than last week's episode. I just don't think it is. And which is weird because if it's supposed to be the 3rd part of a 3-parter, I usually generally love the 3rd parts. And this one, nah, not so much. So yeah, this is going to be our new number 2. Where was it in our original? Like, where did it finish in our original deal?
Take a guess. Where do you think it was?
It was not the last.
There are 22 episodes we ranked. So yeah.
I'm going to guess it's probably 18 to 20, somewhere around there.
It was in 20th.
20.
Yeah. Long Dark was 22, A Distant Star in 21, and Revelations in 20.
Yeah. Here's the thing. If this episode winds up in that same spot, this season will have been a fantastic season. My guess is it's going to find itself 5-ish or so positions higher.
I think so too.
That's my guess. That's my guess.
I would agree. All right, but I'm feeling probably the same as well. So, Brent, that wraps up Revelations. Next week, when we launched into Babylon 5 for the second time, this is one of the episodes we're doing this. We're doing the Geometry of Shadows next week.
Right.
Do you by some chance remember what your prediction was for that?
I do. I said that it was going to be about the guys on the rim, and we're going to get more like different bad guys, right? So it's about the bad guys and how they all interact with each other.
That's right, because you thought that the shadows were the conglomeration of the bad guys, yeah? I thought, this is really deep stuff from Jeff here, this will be a dive into, what the shadows are. Pulling it deep for all of us here. But hey, I hope that you, viewer, listener, are as excited for next week as we are. Geometry of Shadows. You know what? Just before, to kind of put a point on it, we were just talking about the ranking. We placed the oh my God, Brent, we put the Geometry of Shadows at number 15 on the season.
It might be earned. Listen, I am not walking into this going, I'm going to pump everything up about this episode. Here's what I know. This will not be my second watch of this episode, though.
Oh, really?
No, because I rewatched it later on in season 2. I went back and rewatched it before we had really said we were going to do all this. So, and I remember then going, oh, there's so much that we missed about specifically the conversation that Elric has with Londo at the very end. It's really just, that's the biggest thing that's going to change, is that little conversation at the end. Outside of that, the episode is what the episode is. But I'm interested to watch it through these eyes now, having finished the whole series.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. And folks, we're going to do that right here next week. Same place, same times, right? If you're on YouTube, Patreon, any podcasting app, thank you for being here with us. Thanks for being a part of this journey that we get to continue with you. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe, like, rate, review, comment, do all of those really cool things. But the one thing you can do, if your heart is called, if the calling of your heart is to serve, please share this show with someone who either loves Babylon 5 already or needs to get into this incredible series. So with that, until next time.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah, what's up, man?
Hey, listen, I just want you to know, I really love doing this with you, man.
I do too. Like, this is a lot of fun. I love doing this with you. What's up? Like, why are we doing this right now and here?
Well, I mean, it's because we're watching all of this to see if it's more than what we watched in the first time. And, but more than that, I can't say.
I see what you did there. I like it. Indeed, my friend.
I've still got to get used to this new ending thing with the video because I'm never ready for it, and I clicked the wrong one. I actually have a new one where everything was fixed and
cool,
or whatever. Yeah, like I fixed Ben's name that was misspelled and some other things.
Will you send that to me?
I thought I did. Okay, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, cool.
I'll send it to you. We are gonna get out of here.
Well, you wanted to bring a thing up in Club 65.
I did. Well, okay, I guess.
Also, we are on a bit of a crunch, but okay.
I can go through this very fast. Okay, this is what JMS said was, had these other characters not left, here's what would have happened. Okay, this is from JMS. It's not me, at him, not me. If Lita had stayed on B5, her arc would have been pretty much the same of Talia's, except that she would have begun to form a strong link to Kosh, first in the form of dreams, and then something with implications that could be read as menacing or benign.
Okay.
Either way, which I think is kind of what we get with Kosh 2.0 later on, right? where it goes more menacing for sure. If Dr. Kyle had stayed around, he would have moved more into the position of an advisor or paternal figure for Sinclair. And he would have also been more scientist than doctor.
Okay, I like that for that, especially with that actor in that role. That would have been great.
Yeah, that would have been good. Which is very much what we see, I think, a lot with Dr. Mbenga over on Strange New Worlds.
Yeah,
he kind of has that feel to him in many ways. Takashima, if she would have stayed around, she would have been revealed as having been the in on the Vorlon assassination attempt.
Oh wow, I didn't know that part.
From the Gathering, she would have been in on that one, and she would have betrayed Garibaldi during the events of Chrysalis, not Jack, either by giving him over to those involved with the coup, so Clark's people, or by pulling the trigger herself.
All right.
Now, while we would know this, the characters would not for another full season. The characters wouldn't find out until the end of season 2.
Wow. Okay.
Right. Now, Carolyn Sykes, remember, that was Sinclair's girlfriend from The Gathering.
Yeah.
Not Catherine Sakai. She would have gotten in major trouble with one of the major Earth Corps folks. So whatever that means, that's probably, she would have been offed, and then Catherine Sakai would have come in because Catherine Sakai was like the one, right? And if Sinclair had stayed with Babylon 5 at this juncture, the events and points that reveal the Minbari surrender, those would have taken place in that episode 3 instead of episode 1.
Yeah.
But it mostly would have been the main, in episode 1 would have mostly been what happened in Revelations, which was mainly as a bystander to the events going on around him. Since the sister aspect is so specific to Sheridan, she would not have been a part of this episode at all. Basically, with all the events surrounding Delenn, Londo, Jakar, and others, that's what they would have done. And this episode primarily sets up the Shadow Men war, and to really get that cranking, which is, I think, what we're feeling as we watch this.
Totally.
We kind of ignore the Sheridan stuff and we focus on the stuff that has to do with the Shadow War, which is why it ranks so much higher for us now. And Sinclair had no real direct connection to that. So he would have just been a side bystander, which is what we saw a lot in early season 1 with Sinclair. He was just sort of there. He wasn't the guy making stuff happen. So.
Which was great. It worked out well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
So,
That's interesting.
Anyway, that's what those pieces were. So with that, guys, we're going to get out of here. Club 65 now coming to a close. Drop 65 down in the comments. Let us know that you were here. Remember, first rule of Club 65 is we don't talk about it outside. I mentioned it very, very briefly.
That was too much, actually.
And that was
kind
even
of broke
too
the
much.
rule. Yeah.
It was even, I know I was doing it, but when you make the rules, you can break the rules.
Totally.
So
Or
on
retcon
purpose.
it.
When you do it on
Intention.
purpose.
It's
If you do it unintentionally, then you're wrong.
Yeah.
If you do it intentionally, then you're okay.
If you make the rule and you do it intentionally, you're fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that was those things that we had from that. So that being said, we're going to get out of here. Thank you guys so much. We will talk to you later. Bye.